I'm joined by Jeff Hancock. So Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Tony. It's good to be here.
It's my pleasure. Jeff is a crypto expert and the co-founder and CEO of Coinpass, which is one of the UK's fastest growing cryptocurrency trading exchange and investment platform. So Jeff, please share with us your story and more about Coinpass and how your platform can help people to invest in crypto in a safe and secure way.
Wow, I mean, that's a big intro to try and follow up, Tony. I mean, my story first, I mean, my background is in engineering. I was a cybersecurity and infrastructure engineer for about 16 years. Started my craft off in hotels and casinos in Australia. You know, these are Vegas-sized casinos, not small little punting bars, etc. And when I turned about 25, I had the opportunity to do some travel. I'd accumulated far too much annual leave through a few different mergers, and I got forced to take some time off. And my boss just suggested, look, you're 25, go do some traveling, just get out.
Yeah.
Me and now my now co-founder, we've been mates for 20 odd years now for our sins. And we decided to come over, do some traveling, and ended up just staying in the UK long term. I took a few different roles, ended up in data centers and security, looked after food brands like Ella's Kitchen and Goo Puddings and some very, very large hedge funds and trading funds, including SoftBank, the SoftBank Division Fund.
Yeah.
And while I was at SoftBank, being surrounded with those kind of people, you know, we were dealing with WeWork and Uber and all those kind of things, and every single person had some sort of entrepreneurial spirit. And when my now co-founders came to me, I've been doing a bit of consulting. I've done some property investing for a fair few years. I still have some of my properties in a different business, and I was doing a lot of stuff in crypto. And for me, it was easier. Back in kind of 2016, 2017, you know, it was very, very tech. You know, the UI wasn't as good as it is now. There was substantially more risk if you didn't know what you were doing. And, you know, from the security aspect, I found that very easy. So I used to mentor people online, a lot of stuff on Facebook, etc., making videos, etc. And they came to me saying, we want to take a very large position in crypto in pound sterling. How do we do that? And at that point in time, there was no real good premium quality, you know, professional services style crypto exchanges, especially in the UK. Coinbase had been here since 2014, 2015, but you were using US dollars and euro. There was no phone number to call. The support was absolutely horrible. And so I countered them with, why don't we start our own? They didn't have anything, you know, negative to say about that. So we aimed to put our own money in. We didn't raise any funds at that time. We built a platform and tried to sell one Bitcoin to one person. That was the goal. So we started that in 2018. We launched in September of 2018. So it's coming up on our birthday right now. So I need to get working on that. And yeah, we're coming up on just over 3 years since launch. And in that time, we've grown from, you know, a small startup business. We've rebranded into Coinpass as we are right now. We're a team of, I think, 21, 22 now, in the middle of some new key hires here in the UK. And we went from turning over, you know, a few thousand a month to up into the 6 or 7 figures, which is not an easy achievement for an SME, but especially in an industry right now that's so competitive over such a small amount of user base. User base about 100 million globally. We focus on UK and Europe. That's our bread and butter. And because we're registered by the FCA, we obviously have different guidelines to follow than some exchanges of the jurisdictions.
Well, if you're registered by the FCA, then it's more than more, because not many are registered by the FCA. So that is, as you know, one of my challenges as a financial advisor. If something is not registered with the FCA, then it's very difficult for me to even speak about it, let alone discussing any details. So.
Especially when it comes to research and due diligence as well. Being a UK business, it's very easy to do due diligence on. Being registered with the FCA, it's very clear what's on their website and what's not. They're very clear in a lot of their wording. What we call there's the full registration list. Most of the companies on that have an EMI registration, which is expensive, but very good. And then the other bit is what they call the temporary crypto asset register. So these are 100% crypto businesses that are registered with the FCA and still undergoing final appraisal for their AML 5D registrations. We can still do business, which is just fine. And that list used to be about 90 companies. It's down to about 40 now. Have asked to leave or have withdrawn the registration and simply gone to another country, which proves that they're not up to cutting the mustard in terms of looking after UK clients.
Which is good in terms of the UK clients, isn't it? At the end of the day, so it's all about being able to trade securely from their point of view.
Exactly.
So in terms of the So what sort of numbers or members, in terms of members, do you have on your platform?
It's a really good question, and I measure it mostly on growth at the moment, not
Okay.
total numbers still on there. So
Yeah.
we're onboarding, a couple of hundred users a day,
Yeah.
as a percentage of those that will convert, as we call it,
Yeah.
into full-time users. And the retention of those is actually quite high. And one of the things we always get back is support and service. If you have a question and you want to have it answered maybe before you put your first £100 in, it might be post-trade, it might be about a new token, it might be about withdrawing it to another wallet. We have obviously a lot of repository of information that's accessible to all of our users, regardless if they're new or current, doesn't matter. But you can reach out on an instant chat or reach out on an email and get an answer from a human. We don't have AI bots automatically answering stuff. We have some candid responses because we get the same question over and over, but they're all answered by humans. Our support and our compliance department sit literally right beside each other. So if there's an account query about a balance, about a trade, about a delayed deposit, about someone wanted to go from being a £100 user to, a £20,000 user, what are the implications of that? And do they have to do any extra compliance? And we answer those very quickly within between 10 and 30 minutes. And then if they require a little bit of escalation, we have a senior team that are basically accessible at all times to help that. So one thing is the biggest bit is, how do they get the right information for them? Because not every question might be the same, might have the same answer, but everyone has a slightly different background, a slightly different investing background, which we recognize. And another thing as well, being UK business hours, a lot of other foreign exchanges, A, will never get back to you, or B, they'll be in another time zone. So you'll be getting responses at kind of 11:30 at night, 2 in the morning, which is not going to be suitable to UK clients.
Okay. For me, what's interesting is that as a financial advisor, and again, we spoke about this before, is that I can't advise on cryptocurrency. So a lot of people ask me, how do I learn how to invest in cryptocurrency in a safe and secure manner? So how does Coinpass help people do this?
So what we do straight away is trying to make it as easy as possible, because investing in crypto, how it should be, is it should be as easy as buying a stock or a share in your ISA. That's how easy it should be. And we've got 2 platforms at the moment. One was called Coinpass Instant, which just gives you a nice little dashboard. It gives you some pricing. You can basically request to buy, request to sell, and it shows all your balances there. We don't have heaps of flashing lights. It hasn't got, different arrows and graphs and do all this crazy stuff. It's simple. If you're more of a position trader and want to see, tick by tick prices, and want to see some charting and draw some lines, then we have a trading product for that as well. We are working on amalgamating the two, because what we find is our simple users progress into more advanced users because they want more features. Pardon me. And at the moment, we have 2 products. We want to make that easier. So our goal is to make it easy. One problem that's in this space, and maybe it's a shiny penny syndrome, or people want to feel smart about themselves and the skills they've learned, is people make it very complicated from the outset. They talk about mining, they talk about wallets, they talk about all of these different kind of things, when essentially you're buying into an asset. It's called cryptocurrency because you can use it as a currency, but a lot of these do represent themselves as utilities or assets, or maybe even commodities. And I think for the person that's coming into crypto for the first time, it's a much easier way to think about it. Think about it like Bitcoin is gold. You're going to buy and sell it. You're going to hold long-term worth in it. Sure, you can move it to a wallet and you can do payments with it. But where the aha moment comes for a few other people when they sign up to a few different platforms, which I would encourage everyone to do, not just our platform, to get a good spread and experience of what's out there, is the problem with, I'd say one of the problems with your traditional finance now. You buy a stock or a share or a gold or whatever it is on your ISA, your SIP, or a trading platform, you're tied into that platform. With something like cryptocurrency, you can buy a bit of Bitcoin on our platform. You can send it to your own wallet and take self custody of that as if you were getting gold delivered to your house. And there's obviously security risks with that. Or you can move that Bitcoin to another platform to liquidate it or trade into another asset. So suddenly there's far more choice out there than there was before. There's also a race for quality service and for platform, because if people want to buy on our platform and sell it somewhere else, then I'm not doing something for our clientele. And that's something we're always trying to innovate and do. And that concept of not being locked into one platform and having choice is something that crypto offers that a lot of other platforms simply can't.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. So I think a lot of people struggle to sell crypto as well. in terms of what fee bar I get. So it's sometimes it's quite easy to buy, but when it comes to sell, it's a different matter.
True. Yeah, I've seen that as well, and I think that's a little bit of legacy from the call it the old market. It was only 2018. It's not that long ago. One thing we wanted to be was be completely agnostic on people's use cases. So a lot of platforms will have a very easy buy side or a very cheap buy side, or have an exceptionally expensive sell side, which is just a disservice to the user, which is the most important person, but B, the industry. They're not painting, they're not helping the image problem that crypto still has. It's still seen as very underground. It's still seen as very niche.
Yes.
It's very easy to throw shade on it. There are still a few hacks and rug pulls here and there for other products, but one thing that hasn't changed is Bitcoin is probably the worst money laundering tool there is. It's completely transparent. You can see every transaction in real time, which a lot of people. So what we try and be is you can deposit for free. That's never going to change. I never anticipate to add any cost to depositing on our platform.
And what's the minimum level people can deposit with you?
£10 is the minimum, and that's usually just due to the trade sizes and just due to liquidity. Filling orders that are less than £10 are actually quite expensive, and that's where a lot of additional cost is usually introduced by the platform. So we try and make about a minimum of 10 quid. I think everyone can dip their toe for £10. I mean, that's the cost of 2 coffees or 2 pints these days. So the side is obviously if you want to custody it on our platform and leave it there to freely trade, you can sell whenever you like, but it's covered by an insurance policy against malicious theft and loss. So people are responsible for protecting their own account, i.e. using a secure password, using a 2FA. But their funds are insured for any sort of hack or loss, etc., which is great. Now it comes to the sell side. Obviously, you'll pay a fee for buying and you'll pay a fee for selling. But if you want to withdraw the crypto off the platform, say you want to send Bitcoin to your wallet, etc., we keep those fees flat. They're not a percentage. So whether you want to withdraw £100 of crypto or £100,000 of crypto, those fees are flat. And again, those are just to cover what we call a mining fee, so sending the transaction over the network, and also the insurance policy. So that's how our fees are kind of scaled and calculated. And we actually don't make anything on those fees at all. And then the last one, we charge a flat £5 or a flat €5 to take your profits back to your bank, because those processes are not automated and they're kind of air gapped and nice and secure. So let's say worst case, someone gets a password to your account and they manage to get in through all our security measures, which is quite rare, and they try and withdraw, £5,000. It can only go one place. It can only go to your bank account. It will not go anywhere else. Sorry about that. Fire alarm going off. It'll only go to your bank account. It can't go anywhere else. But just obviously for our FCA registration, for our AMR5D, it is a manual process to move those funds back to the bank. We do it very quickly, within 10, 20 minutes. But also just ensures there's a little bit of manual intervention there to ensure that someone hasn't pushed the wrong button, that it's obviously going out through a secure channel. And also we don't cap our users minimums or maximums. So if they turn into £100,000 user overnight, great, we can serve you. You want to take £100,000 back to your bank, we can surface that kind of deal flow as well, without having to handcuff our users. That's one thing I always wanted from our platform, and part of my vision was not to handcuff people into a product that they didn't like using.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you'd have, one of the things I've mentioned, well, I've heard, I think this is more historic, is obviously the problems that people have had with wallets.
Exactly. So wallets is an interesting bit because it can be extremely complicated from traditional banking. I have a bank account, it's an account. It's very hard to think of crypto as an account, because the term of how a wallet is used and how a wallet is secured is a very wide and kind of vague category. So I'll try and break it down as easily as I can. If you think about a wallet similar to like a debit card, you've got what's called a public address or a public facing address, and that might be your card number. I'm happy for you to have my card number because you can't use it without all the other relevant information. But if I, gave you my card number or gave you my, sort code and account code, you can send me £5, £10. Great. That's what the public side of the address is for. Now, what they call the private key, or the private address, that's kind of like your expiry date and your 3 digits in the back. That's stuff you don't tell anybody, and that's the stuff that kind of unlocks the value of your capital. And that's what the private key is. So I can give my public address to anybody I like. but the private key is always for me, and that's what secures my crypto. And that private key can take many different forms, and here's where the complication usually gets to, when people's mind has to expand a little bit and learn something new. You can have a, say, like an address on coinpass.com, but coinpass.com controls the private keys in order to secure that for you on your behalf. So you might think of us like a bank, but obviously not financial advice. We're not a bank. So that's the main thing you have to remember. We're not trying to be a bank. Now, you want to take your crypto into your own custody, which people might want to do because they want to keep it off a platform. They want to be self-sovereign. They want to be able to travel with it. They might want to transact with their friends and family. You're going to have some sort of wallet, whether it's on a mobile phone, where you're going to get a seed phrase or a seed key, and that allows you to restore the private key in the future. That might be a mobile device, a mobile app, etc. You've got another one which is called a hardware wallet, which is something called I've actually got one with me. Let me get one real quick. Something called a ledger, which looks like this, and it looks like just a big bulky USB device with a couple of digits on it.
Yeah.
And this is probably one of the most secure forms of holding crypto and what people tend to use. They are a bit of a pain to set up. They are a bit of a pain to get your mind around, but it is the most safest form of holding your crypto.
What if you lose it?
That's why you keep the physical device, and like I said, the recovery phrase, the seed words, you keep them separate. So you might keep this in a safe in your house, or in a secure drawer, or in a little cubby hole somewhere, but you might keep that seed key in like a safe deposit box, or maybe with your solicitor, or maybe with in a different place. You never keep them together. So this device can essentially turn into a white good, as long as no one knows the PIN code to it, and no one knows the seed keys. It's like any other USB you might throw out. There might be some data on it, but you can lose this. What you then can do is you buy a new one. You use your seed recovery phrase, and you restore your funds. You restore the access to your funds again. So it's completely recoverable if you set yourself up for a bit of success there. And we put a lot of this kind of content on our website, and there's a lot of stuff out there to learn it as well. And that's probably the most advanced side I ever kind of tell people, is that you can have a wallet on a platform like an exchange like ours. You can move it off to a mobile app, and you can have it in your hand at all times. So mobile is a very personal thing these days. People don't usually give their phone over to anyone else. So there is a source of security there, but your phone can get damaged, or your phone can get lost, your phone can
stolen,
get or leave it in an Uber, as a friend of mine did on Saturday night. You know, often's a good one. So
usually one that's or your jacket.
Now it's not the Apple Find My Phone, it's Apple Find My Crypto. So there's obviously that. Or you take it completely offline onto these hardware kind of ledger devices, which, yes, they are a little bit of a learning curve. The experience since 2018 has gotten better. And I think right now where crypto is at, in terms of adoption with institutional investors, with major companies putting it on their balance sheet, with the US dollar getting printed, into the stratosphere, I think everyone should have, not financial advice, should have some sort of exposure to crypto, even if it's just £100. Something that you can afford to lose, something that you might treat yourself with if you're going to go to dinner on town and have a nice evening at the theater and a meal. Everyone should be able to, if they're taking their investing seriously, everyone should be looking at this tech of what's going to happen next in kind of 20 to 30 years, because I believe the underlying tech will replace a lot of traditional markets.
I think that was my next question, how you see this in 10, 20, 30 years time.
So yeah, I mean, how the tech is used is very, very widespread. Let's talk about, just blockchain as an idea for a moment. Think of it like, a database that anyone can access with the right permission anywhere in the world. Who I used to work with, SoftBank, they did a trial with blockchain on one of their mobile networks in Japan. Because we use text here and we use WhatsApp, but the old concept of MMS, which is like a picture analog message, is still, I've got an MMS in about 5 years, but it's still very, very mainstream in Japan. So what they did is they basically built a blockchain between two of their companies, because what they're finding is the data usage between these two mobile networks was insane, purely on MMS messaging. So they said, well, let's replace it with a blockchain that runs between both these companies. If someone sends an MMS, it simply stores it on the chain, and anyone that has the permission to get that MMS can open it from any network ever. And that one little change basically saved both companies, hundreds of thousands of pounds of overhead, because now the MMS doesn't have to travel between networks. Both networks can talk to the same blockchain. And that's just kind of one little use case. Supply chain, so logistics, and all of those kind of things, from your passport on your plane, where a product has come from, who it was made by, how many hops it took to get to the supermarket. All of that kind of information stored on a blockchain is very important and very easy to access. And obviously good, it helps prove provenance of where it came from, how it was made, how it was shipped. Stuff like carbon credits, how it's actually tracked being spent, down to what we know as our, potentially trading markets and tokenized markets. The idea of having a stock or a share that you own and be able to obviously take self-custody of it and actually show that you hold that stock and share to get your dividend to prove ownership of that share. Move between platforms, whoever has the best service and the best fees. I know some people are really happy with Hargreaves Lansdown and some people absolutely hate it. But they have,
I wouldn't say we say the
you have to be agnostic, but there are some people that have different experiences and they feel locked into one because I can't get this product on this platform, or I can get it somewhere else, but I have to liquidate all of my positions. I have to take the tax hit. I have to take the income hit, move it all over in pounds, then reopen all my positions. So they're going to lose, 5 or 10% and pay like 20% tax on those.
Yeah, it's a major issue in my industry. So
exactly. And the capital gains calculations for those, there are a lot of people that don't crystallize capital gains because they have held those positions for a really long time. So there's a big threat, I feel, to traditional markets in what tokenization will represent. And I think there's a huge opportunity for different types of growth on a local scale. What's stopping us from investing into small businesses? Well, it's risk, paperwork, time, and the failure rate. But imagine if you could invest into your local coffee shop, and every time they pulled the barista bit, a little bit of cool tech, knows how much that coffee costs, it knows all the bits in between, and it could pay a dividend on per cup of coffee on like a micro transaction. That's the kind of stuff that's capable with this kind of technology. So it will do better. Will it take over? Not about take over. I think it will run in the background where we don't need to know it's there, similar to the internet. Used to dial up on a modem, and now the internet is just Wi-Fi. That's all we think of it. It'll be one of those kind of base layer techs that opens up a lot of possibilities that we haven't even thought of yet. And that's why I'm in this industry now. I could be doing a lot of other things with my time in my mid-30s, but I choose to do this because I'm so bullish on it.
Yeah, I think it's, for me, I think it's whether or not the banks and various governments want this to be used widely. I think that's the challenge we've got, isn't it?
I think they're bullish on the tech. What they're not bullish on is how the velocity of money has changed. A couple of thousand pounds or a couple of million pounds of wealth can move anywhere in the world within a few seconds. That's a scary concept to try and overcome. They're open to it. They're researching it. We've got central bank digital currencies come around the corner, which is going to replace our form of fiat currency, which is obviously deeply flawed over hundreds of years of evidential proof. But, it's one thing. 2018, 2017, it was kind of a new age thing. It was a bit nichey, something for the geeks. And now it's a real threat to the traditional banking system. So they are paying attention and they are open to talking about it. It's just innovation will always outpace regulation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Talk more about the education side, because again, a lot of people do want to get more, or certainly educated in terms of investing. Cryptocurrency, as you say, is, certainly for the millennials, it's something they want to do. But everybody should be doing this, as you say, at least having knowledge of it. So
yes,
in terms of your platform that you have, if they wanted to invest, obviously, via your platform, what are the education resources that you provide them?
Sure. So we have our blog site to begin with. So if you go to coinpass.com/blog, we have a lot of industry articles there. We do a lot of news pieces and also kind of the how-tos on, the basics. So wallets, starting an account, trading, etc. And then if you go onto our support desk, we have a lot of specific FAQs on using our specific platform. So how to buy your first bit of Bitcoin, how to generate a withdrawal, how to deposit from your bank, etc. And obviously we keep those up to date and we reference them in a lot of our support tickets. So we've got a few different sources of information, and we're obviously working very hard to amalgamate the two as well to make them easier to reference. In terms of just learning more about the industry, it is a very noisy space.
Yeah.
I would say just as anything you see about a celebrity endorsement or something about Elon or Musk or about, this appeared on Dragon's Den and they made money on it, all of those are fake. straight
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
No one's giving away crypto for free.
Yeah.
The only thing we do on our platform as a benefit, if you deposit £100 or more on your first deposit, we'll give you an extra £10. That's part of our user acquisition and marketing cost. But no one gives away free crypto. So don't ever fall or participate in any of those, just run. On the YouTube side, YouTubers are giving out a lot of financial advice here and there, which they really shouldn't be. So which YouTubers you watch and align with is obviously to be very careful on. I can't recommend any specifically, but it is do your research and ask questions. Ask questions in comments. Look at a couple of Facebook groups. Try and stick to the reputable ones that are either locked, require some sort of sign-up process or question process. And there are good ones out there. There's not really a stupid question because everyone's new to it at some point. It's not an assumed knowledge. They're not teaching this in schools. They're not teaching investing in schools. So I think there's no that just triggered you, I heard.
No, it's one of my gripes, if I'm honest.
Exactly. So there's no stupid question, and we answer a lot of basic knowledge stuff all the time, because if they can't find it, we're not doing our job. So we use it as feedback. But if you can't ask a stupid question and get some more info on any of these kind of forums and connect with people in the same boat as you, then you just need to look a little bit harder. There's several UK groups on Facebook. So Bitcoin and crypto beginners, run by a good friend of mine, Ash, who's also a YouTuber. Then you've got UK crypto, run by another brand here in the UK, but they have quite a large group and they're quite agnostic on the platforms they talk about. And there are a lot of good people in those groups that are giving info. I lurk in there time to time on my lunch breaks and try and answer a few questions here and there. And what I try to do, what my goal is to try and build a better crypto. Still doesn't have the best public image, but it's no reason why people can't be interested in it. People want to invest and make money. There's nothing wrong with that. People want to see what wealth is going to look like in 10 years time, and they're thinking about their children or their grandchildren and want to kind of keep up, then it's worth looking into. It's just finding the right source of knowledge that is obviously transparent, obviously teaches not investing advice but good practice. It just takes a bit of time. When you read the same thing maybe 2 or 3 times on a couple of different Medium posts, or you might see a post on our platform that's really similar to a post on Kraken's platform, that's where you start to build a more kind of secure knowledge base. And sharing it with people, share it with friends or family if they're into it too. Make your own little mastermind group, and just get involved. There's nothing stopping you spending an hour a week reading a couple articles to level up your skills.
I think my focus with in terms of what I put out there from a social media point of view is all about creating awareness and education. So I'm a firm believer in doing that. If you want to learn how to do something, then yes, you've got to be careful in terms of the noise out there, but there are some resources out there that you can. But I think what people forget as well, enjoy it. Investing is about enjoying and learning about what you're doing at the same time. So
while I'm a cryptocurrency business, I still have the rest of my portfolio to take care of. I'm in the middle of selling my last HMO, so I still have property. I've still got some other single lets in there. I have an ISA and a SIP, and I'm obviously looking at opportunities in there. I'm looking at ETFs, the way they diversify a bit. I'm trying to look at global exposure as more of a cockroach portfolio, which is really boring to a lot of people. I find it awesome. I like that my funds have a global reach 24 hours a day. That's cool to me. But on the other side of the crypto side, yes, there's volatility there. Yes, there is risk there, but also that's where there is quite some significant upswings. You can sit there in an afternoon and trade a few positions there back and forth. Because one thing that's different in crypto to something like Forex is there's a lot of very dumb traders out there that will follow the same patterns as everyone else. And you're like, I'll draw this line, but there's no way it's going to bounce off there. Sometimes it does, because everyone's doing the same really basic stuff to you. There's not the sophisticated, multi-billion-dollar players in the FX market as there is in crypto. So some of those trends are very unnatural, and you can get caught out if you don't know what you're doing. Some of them follow an exact pattern for a very long time because they are very predictable markets. But it is, I'm not a trader. I don't pretend to be. Just that's my strategy. If it goes down by at least 5-6%, I buy a small allocation, because I'm thinking long term. I'm not trying to intraday trade. I'm not trying to seek crazy yields and stuff like that. I just buy and accumulate.
But I think that's a great point. I think for the majority of people, It is about long-term investing or trading. I think investing, I think I prefer the term, especially if it's long-term. Trading tends to mean, to me, a short-term. I think when you are going to invest in the long term, then yes, it's not as critical in terms of, if you like, when you get into the market. As long as you go in at a good point, you'll never guarantee if it's the lowest point, and you'll never guarantee if you sell it's the highest point.
Well, it's the old adage, right? It's time in the market, not trying to time the market. Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned as well, Jeff, I mean, asset allocation is part of it. So, as you said, you've got a portfolio of different investments. And so it is about having that balance between the different things, and crypto can form part of that. The amount, if you like, is obviously dependent on the risk profile that you have as an investor. If it's it's usually at the top end in terms of the old pyramid, if you like.
Yeah, exactly.
Risk profile, but again, it means that if you do it in a sensible way, you can do it and you can learn and become better and better at it the more that you get involved and you learn about it.
Yeah, so it's like you say, exactly about risk, because some people say it's a 1% at the very top. If you're a bit younger, it might be something like 5%, depending on what your income levels is. But I still drive money into my pension and into my ISA, because those are exceptionally great tax efficient vehicles. Whereas crypto at the moment is still considered a capital appreciating asset. So you're paying capital gains on your liquidation. And that's something that's evolving with the HMRC and evolving. 5 years ago, Bitcoin and crypto were the same thing. And
well, you can go back and look at ETFs. ETFs, are relatively new in investment terms, so that they've evolved. So it's slightly different than cryptocurrency, but everything evolves.
And that's where one of the scary things, one of the things that the FCA were very anti about last year was when they banned derivatives in the UK. So it was basically UK companies offering derivatives. You can still get access to crypto derivatives on a number of different platforms, even if you're still in the UK. Many of them do lock it down because they don't want to get the FCA's target on their back. But a lot of the platforms you can get it on are obviously completely unregulated out of Caymans, Panama, etc. And they're at your own risk. So you're already taking a volatile asset which can move 200, 300, 500,000 pounds in a day, and adding up to 100 times leverage on that, which is kind of insane. And that's where I've seen a lot of new investors get a little bit too carried away. You can go for the shiny pennies, which they're 1 cent, so they're very likely from 1 cent to 2 cent. Do the math, that's doubling your money. But they can easily move drastically in the wrong direction very, very quickly. And one of the knowledge bits is you can own £10 worth of Bitcoin. You don't have to buy one at 30,000 pounds. Doesn't work that way. Bitcoin goes down to 8 decimal places. The pound sterling only has 2, to make it simple. Forex trading is 4. I can barely keep track of that, but it goes down to 8. Ethereum goes down to 18. I don't know why, but it does go down to 18. So you can own these exceptionally small, scraps of dust of crypto and move it around the network very, very cheaply. Whether it's flat withdrawal from our platform or a few cents, the price of a token shouldn't affect an investment decision. The quality of that token, what it does, should be the main consideration. A great resource that everyone should have a look at, which is kind of like the market kind of page, or the front page of the market, we call it, is Coin Market Cap. Another one's called, or Coin Gecko is another one. That will basically just give you a top 100, or goes down to 200, 300s, 1000s if you want to go that low, and it will show you the market cap, circulating supply, volume, all that kind of stuff. And after about the top 50, the liquidity gets pretty low. So you want to go and buy £100, £1,000. A £5,000 investment in some of these tokens can move the market, and has moved the market. So I kind of prefer to stay within the blue chips, if you want to call them. For transparency, I basically invest into Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polkadot, because I believe they're very long-term holds, in my opinion. Not financial advice, but that's just what I'm doing with my portfolio, which is very simple. 3 assets that are spread across with a percentage. And I rebalance them once a month. Kind of boring. So I'm kind of asset managing.
Well, you're taking the same approach as I would take to an investment portfolio. So.
And you can readjust it every other day and capitalize on some of that volatility. I just don't have the time. Simple as that. And I'm putting in, a flat amount every single month to grow that pot as well as rebalance it. So is it the most effective? Probably not. Is it the most optimal? Probably not, but it works for me. And I've gained some good dips. I've got some okay exposure, but I'm still looking at all the investments in the rest of my portfolio as well. So I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist, which I think are not doing the space any good. I think there's room for multiple tokens and multiple blockchains to do multiple things, but we're still very early. Industry's 10, 12 years old. The UI UX has only gotten really good in the last 3 years, I'd say. And it's still 100 million users globally. Some people are saying as high as 200. I don't really believe that, but we are nowhere near even 0.5% of the global population. So there's still every opportunity to get in, learn something before before it becomes as simple as a bank account. We're not there yet. So there's every advantage for people to create some real generatable wealth if they want to educate themselves and learn something new.
No, I absolutely agree. So any forms of investments, then you need to know at least the basics of what's out there. And cryptocurrency is certainly a part of that for those who want to get involved. But they need to understand, obviously, the pluses and minuses of it. Go into it with your eyes open and have a bit of fun, but do your due diligence, do your research, and learn as much as you can and get involved.
For sure. Echoing every single point you made there. And I think on the due diligence side, whichever platform you do want to align yourself with, look at some very basic things. Look at the footer of their website. If they do not have a risk disclosure, then obviously they are not exposed to any sort of regulation whatsoever. So buyer beware. Have a look at where the company is based. It's really interesting that I do a lot of testing on other sites, and sometimes you can't actually find the company name that's running the website. They hide it, not even in their T's and C's, which is a big no-no. So who are you actually dealing with? What country do they reside in, and what's their kind of support processes? So it's a really good exercise to try and do, because some of the things we take for granted, using SIPs and ISAs in this country, using regulated products, a lot of people might not even know they're regulated, but they have a layer of protection. Now, there's no protection in crypto right now for the ombudsman or FSCS, etc. But knowing who you're trading with and knowing who you're sending funds to is a very big deal. It might be a really slick looking mobile app. It's really sexy. It has all the notifications. It's got 150 tokens that you're probably never going to buy, but they could be based in Panama or Cyprus or wherever. And actually, the second you deposit pounds, they're converting it into like Euro or USD. So really, your funds are kind of gone the second they leave your bank account, and your remit for getting any access to those funds if something goes wrong is very, very low. So it is a due diligence exercise, which I think is a great skill to have anyway. Being objective about literally everything that you read out there, and verifying. And that's what I've learned from crypto. Is I've learned more about money. I've learned more about the financial system, how it works and how it's kind of broken. And people that come into crypto end up asking more questions about, well, what is the difference between money and currency? I thought they were the same thing. Oh, no, completely different. Because crypto highlights all of that kind of stuff. So my due diligence levels have gone through the roof, being able to research companies, research tax, research how to look at data on chain and stuff like that. And I'm not a developer. I'm a security guy. But what it's taught me on other industries has been kind of amazing. And that's why I think more people need to get involved, because they will learn something else that actually has nothing to do with crypto.
I think that's a great point. Investment education, full stop, is something I endorse every single day. And if learning more about cryptocurrencies helps you do that across the board, then it's got to be a good thing. For sure. Jeff, we're coming towards the end. And so if people want to get started with cryptocurrency, how do they get in touch with you or your platform in terms of using that?
Sure. Find out more. So you can find us across most social media. You look for our official pages on either LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. Obviously, I'm very active on LinkedIn and Twitter. So if you want to reach out to me personally, you can find my profiles on there. Just look for Coinpass or Jeff Hancock. On Twitter, I'm Jeff_Coinpass, nice and simple. So you can get in contact with any of our people or pages there for any random questions you might have. I love connecting with people. So if you do inbox me, I will try to get back to you. As long as it's relevant. I mean, don't send me stuff I don't need. That's not nice. You can look at our website, www.coinpass.com. We have a blog on there, which you have a lot of relevant information. We're constantly adding insight pieces, community posts, guest posts, news, etc. So you can use it as a news source if you like. We also have the newsletter if you want to get some stuff to your inbox once a week. We do not have a spam policy in terms of the more people that stay on the list, the better. I don't want any unsubscribes. So we only want relevant stuff on our newsletters. Yeah. But otherwise, yeah, sign up an account. It's free. Check it out. Look at the platform. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Maybe there's something you've seen that you like. Maybe there's something that's not quite obvious that I could make better. So any forms of feedback you want to give us. And yeah.
There's lots of places to interact with you. So.
Lots of places to get in touch. So I'll pass you over some links. You can put them on the bottom of this.
Yeah, I'll put them on the show notes for us. So
great.
Jeff, I also ask all of my guests one question. And that question is, what does wealth mean to you?
What does wealth mean to me? I think wealth has to equal some sort of time, whether it's now or in the future. If you are a trader and you have a spread betting account and you make a couple extra $100 a week, that's what you get to do and have your fun with, then great. If you're building wealth to share with your family so you can retire early, then that's awesome. I think wealth can present itself in both money, mindset, and time. So I think if you're investing in any one of those, you're going to be ahead of anyone else that is not bothered. And don't treat it like a hobby. Treat it like a business. Treat yourself accountable and have a group of people around you that have the same merits, and you'll do all right.
Fantastic. That's a different response I've had before, so I like that. So, and I think time is a big factor you got in there as well.
Because you can be time rich and have no money and be the happiest person on earth. You can be knowledge rich and share that with other people or mentor people. Maybe you make your wealth through giving your knowledge to others, wealth coaching, etc. Or you simply apply your strategy and, build that bankroll, divest it into something else. I've got a rough strategy and I love playing online poker. That's one of my hobbies.
Yeah.
I'm okay at it at a certain stake level. But if I want to increase my bankroll through playing really good poker, and I don't want to put any of my disposable income into it, I have to make between $50 and $100 on one of my spread betting accounts.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's a little bit. So I want to top up that, or I make a really bad call. And that's one of, that's a fun hobby for me. Yeah, there's a money element to it, but that's a strategy element to it. And you learn a lot about strategy by doing different things. And you should have a hobby that keeps you fit, a hobby that keeps you creative, and a hobby that makes you money. So poker is kind of in between creative and in between money making. But I've made a huge amount of friends and a huge amount of networking through playing poker in real life. Back when we had some networking events at the Hippodrome, yes, they were business related, and yes, they were networking. But the strategy involved in playing that game is completely unlimited. And there are people that have been playing for 20 years that are still learning. And I think any topic that continues to evolve and continues to get harder and continues to level up is a good skill to learn. So when I'm not working or outside exercising or spending time with my family, I'm learning how to be better at poker, because there's a life skill in there that's constantly evolving, from the math to the strategy to the people to the saying stupid stuff to try and get more information. It's just good fun.
I think we should be learning. For me, learning every day is a natural thing. So the day I stop learning, I think will be the day that I call it a day. But
just to compliment that, I saw a really good post on LinkedIn the other day, and I had to repost it as well. It was like, have you ever had a spreadsheet that you were so excited about finishing and was really amazing, but none of your friends cared? Yeah, I'm asking for a friend. I'm like, yes, I've been there. I have an amazing portfolio spreadsheet and I think it's cool. And my partner doesn't. She's like, big deal.
Yeah, no, that's right. So it's
like that. It's that learning every day. Like I learned how to do VLOOKUPs in Excel, and my mind was blown. VLOOKUPs are amazing. If you're not an Excel nerd, then ignore that last point. But I got really excited from learning something in it.
I use spreadsheets every day, so I know exactly what you mean. So,
you know what I mean? But something like that. If you're not learning every day and not getting excited about it, then you're not doing it completely right. And everyone should find investing and learning about stuff exciting.
Yeah, I also think picking up the point about wealth. I think true wealth is having a balance amongst quite a few things in your life. So, I think that if you want a happy life, you have to have that balance between a number of things, whether it's your personal life, business life, health, wealth, all the things.
And there's no reason why some of them can't overlap. I mean, it's good to have some separation and step away from the desk, but there's no reason why some of them can't overlap. So yeah, some of my networking overlaps with poker, some of my poker overlaps with investing, but all of it makes me a more rounded person that's learning something every day. And if I can learn 0.5% more than yesterday, then that's a win for me.
Great. Jeff, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show today. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure my audience will too. So great to have you on the show. Great to share also your experiences and your knowledge, and good luck with everything you do, and good luck with Coinpass.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for listening, team. And if anything I can do to help, random question, random query, please reach out. Otherwise, make sure you listen to Tony's podcast and keep educating every day.